Discussion and debate. Building an argument. Unit 5. Task A. Read and discuss. Listen to the reading and follow along in your textbook. The reading introduces the topic and some of the key ideas you will need to develop your argument. As you listen, think about your own views on the topic.
As Leonardo DiCaprio said, "Our planet's alarm is going off, and it is time to wake up and take action." Scientists believe that the Earth is already dying. We are faced with changes in temperature, storms and floods, wildfires, rising sea levels, melting ice, and the collapse of ecosystems. If that is the problem, then this is the solution. We need to be better stewards of nature, and we need adequate policies for climate change mitigation. If we are concerned about a clean energy source, nuclear energy is the solution, as it emits no carbon dioxide. As hydroelectric energy has limited reserves, and wind and solar energies are unpredictable and do not generate sufficient energy, nuclear energy is the most efficient option. Further, nuclear energy has great energy capacity, and it can be reused following regeneration. However, the byproduct of nuclear energy is radioactive and thus harmful. It has to be sealed and safely stored for many years. It may also result in radiation poisoning if the power plants are not properly built, managed, or maintained. Despite its disadvantages, nuclear energy is considered to be the cleanest and most economical source of energy. The environment and natural resources play a critical role in the development of a country. To avoid further exposure and vulnerability of our planet to natural disasters and climate change, we need to take action to protect the Earth and promote a healthy environment.
Task B. Comprehension check. Consider each question and use information from the reading to develop your response. Think about how these ideas could be used to support either side of the argument. Task C. Vocabulary building. Complete the vocabulary activity. Pay attention to how each word or phrase is used, as you will be encouraged to use this vocabulary when you present your argument. Now check your answers. Task D. Useful idioms. Complete the idiom activity and check the meaning of each expression. Consider whether any of these expressions could be used naturally in your argument. Now check your answers. Then take the vocabulary and idioms quiz. Task E. Discussion language. Study the discussion language and complete the activity. Practice using these expressions to help you structure and communicate your argument clearly. Task F. For and against. Listen to both model arguments and follow along in your textbook. Notice how each speaker states a position, develops reasons, introduces evidence, and uses the language from the unit. Consider which arguments you find most convincing.
Nuclear energy remains one of the most debated sources of electricity, but I believe we should continue using it because it is one of the most efficient and sustainable energy sources available. One reason is that nuclear power produces large amounts of electricity while releasing very little carbon dioxide, making it important for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and improving air quality. Another reason is that nuclear power plants generate electricity far more consistently than many other energy sources. To illustrate my point, France has relied heavily on nuclear energy for many years and now generates most of its electricity from nuclear power while maintaining relatively low carbon emissions. This demonstrates that nuclear energy can provide a stable electricity supply on a national scale. Finally, modern nuclear technology continues to improve. Today's reactors include advanced safety systems that reduce the potential risk of failure. The amount of radioactive waste produced is relatively small compared with the electricity generated, and some waste can be reprocessed and reused instead of being treated as a byproduct. While cleaner energy sources will continue to expand, nuclear energy remains an effective long-term solution that can provide reliable electricity while supporting a cleaner future. For these reasons, I believe nuclear energy should continue to play an important role in meeting future energy needs.
Although nuclear energy provides reliable electricity, I believe it is too dangerous and expensive to remain a major energy source. Even a small mistake can get out of hand and lead to a serious catastrophe with long-lasting consequences for people and the environment. A clear example of this is the Chernobyl disaster in 1986. A reactor explosion released large amounts of dangerous material, forcing thousands of people to leave their homes and creating an area that remains unsafe decades later. This demonstrates that although nuclear accidents are rare, their effects can be devastating. Nuclear waste also remains dangerous for years because it does not decompose quickly and must be stored safely for long periods. Maintaining secure storage facilities requires continuous monitoring and strict regulations, creating responsibilities for future generations. Finally, nuclear power plants require enormous investment and highly trained workers. They often take years to build, making them less viable than faster alternatives. Although weather conditions can be unpredictable, modern electricity systems can combine different energy sources to maintain a reliable supply. As countries invest in renewable energy such as solar and wind power, these technologies are becoming increasingly practical and cost-effective. For these reasons, I believe governments should invest in safer energy sources rather than expanding nuclear power.
Task G. Comprehension check. Answer the questions about the model arguments. Identify the speaker's positions and evidence, and practice challenging one of their points. This will help prepare you for the rebuttal task later. Task H. Springboard. Read the quotation and consider how it relates to the topic. Introduce the quote and explain what it demonstrates. Consider whether the quotation could be used to support your own argument. Task I. Exploring evidence. Complete the evidence activity. Each unit introduces a different type of supporting evidence. Consider how this type of evidence can make an argument more convincing and how you could use it in your own argument. Now check your answers. Then take the evidence type quiz. Task J, supporting an argument. Develop a reason for your position and support it using the type of evidence introduced in this unit. This will give you practice connecting a reason with relevant supporting evidence. Task K, gathering data. Study the infographic and identify information that could support either side of the argument. Consider which facts or data would be most useful for supporting your own position. Task L, building an argument. Now bring together what you have learned throughout the unit. Choose whether you are for or against the discussion statement. Use the Building an Argument page to state your position and develop 3 clear reasons supported with relevant evidence. Use the evidence type introduced in this unit once in your argument, and identify your sources by giving the author or source title and the date. Where appropriate, try to incorporate the discussion language, vocabulary, and idioms you learned in the unit. When you have completed your notes, use them to record your spoken argument and post your recording to the Spoken Argument Forum. Do not simply read your notes, use them to help you explain your argument naturally. Finally, listen to another student's argument. Choose one point they made and record a rebuttal explaining why you disagree. Thank you for your efforts this week. See you in the next lesson.